Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 11 Episode 19. As is the norm with all my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. I really enjoyed this episode. It entertained me from start to finish, and even though I do have some issues with it, and let's be honest, it wouldn't be a predatory review without me moaning about something, I enjoyed it for the most part, and I think it's the best episode so far from 11C. It feels like there's a lot going on in this episode because we jump back and forth between multiple characters and the episode is set in different locations. And I really like that because I've been complaining for years that The Walking Dead has too many episodes which take place in like one setting and it is only centered around like 2 or 3 characters or, a couple more. I want to see, the characters in every episode. I want to see the majority of the cast each week and I want multiple storylines happening at once because, other shows do it, so why can't The Walking Dead do it? And this episode, to its credit, does do that. We do see the majority of the characters. Yes, there are some pretty big omissions from this episode. For example, we don't see Maggie, but we do see the majority of the characters, and the episode does take place in a few different locations. And I like that. That's what I want from the rest of the episodes. That's what I want from the rest of The Walking Dead. Eugene is a wanted man this episode. Pamela wants him to be taken in for trial and then, I guess, eventually executed as retribution for the death of Sebastian. And I don't really understand her logic here. It seems to me kind of counterintuitive killing Eugene because the majority of the people in the Commonwealth wanted Sebastian to be dead. So what does killing Eugene prove? If she executes Eugene, that's not really going to appease the people of the Commonwealth because the majority of them now think that the Commonwealth is corrupt anyway. So then her killing Eugene is just going to make them think it's more corrupt. I don't really understand what the thinking is here unless she thinks that by killing Eugene, it's her way of saying, don't mess with the Miltons, don't mess with us because we'll kill you. And she's hoping that people will fall in line. I'm not entirely sure because, later on in this episode, she confronts Lance and she says to Lance that, look, I know you're the one who killed the workers last week, which caused the walkers to appear and then that caused chaos resulting in Sebastian's death. And she even blames him for Sebastian's death. So why not just kill him instead? Let's be honest, Lance is a liability because he's tried to kind of screw her over in the past and it's obvious that he wants more power. So why keep him alive and, why not just blame him for Sebastian's death and make an example out of him? I don't really see what she gets from killing Eugene unless she just thinks that Lance is more useful to her and she can use him. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, I'll talk about this more a bit later. I am getting a bit ahead of myself now because what happens at the start of the episode is that anyone who is associated with Eugene is brought in for questioning, and the first person that we see questioned is Rosita, and she's questioned by Mercer. Mercer's attitude towards Rosita this week is completely different to how he was with her in the previous episode, because in episode 18, he's very friendly to her, and it's obvious he respects her, and he says to her, if you ever want out, if you and Coco get in trouble, I'll help you escape. Whereas in this episode, it's like he doesn't even know her. He's just very cold. And, Rosita even says to him, are we really doing this? Are you going to pretend that you don't even know me? And yeah, he's a bit of a dick, to be honest. I did find it interesting that Mercer said that Rosita was unemployed during their interview, so I guess that either she's been fired from her position or she quit. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting a bit frustrated with Mercer because, I do think that eventually he's going to come around and he's going to help the protagonist, but it's kind of dragging on a bit. I would have thought at this point he would have kind of realised how bad the Commonwealth were and would make a stand against them, but, at this moment in time, he's still falling in line. And, like this episode, he's basically going along with them killing Eugene. And I'm just thinking, are you really okay with this? When are you going to grow a backbone, man? So, yeah, I am losing patience with him a bit. Perhaps Princess leaving him is going to be the catalyst which finally causes him to change. And yes, I know in the previous video I said, oh, Princess doesn't do anything anymore. Where's Princess? And then, of course, she would happen to be in the next episode. So, yeah, that shows just what I know. But anyway, I like the part that she played this week because Mercer is trying to explain to her that they have to make things work at the Commonwealth. They have to fall in line, they have to accept the fact that the place, is corrupt because it could be worse, which, to be fair, I understand where he's coming from. It is a post-apocalypse and they are living in a relatively safe environment, so why rock the boat? Why risk it when, they could be living out in the wilderness hunted by the undead every day? So I get what he's saying, but I do like how Princess, just replied by saying, yeah, well, it could be better. It could be better. Why are we accepting living in a corrupt place? Why are we accepting this? It could be better. This shouldn't be, what we accept for the rest of our lives. We need to do something about it. And I really like that optimistic attitude. I like where she's coming from. And Princess does relay this back to her childhood and her past experiences because she says that she was abused as a kid, and the abusers would say to her when she complained about it, oh, it could be worse. You know, you think of all the other children who've got it worse than you, it could be worse, as if that was supposed to make her situation any better. And, you know, obviously that leads into why she feels the way that she does and why she isn't going to accept, you know, the corrupt way the Commonwealth is, and why she wants more and why she wants something better. And I respect her for that. I like that, you know. I mean, in my real life, like in the real world, I've met many people who will complain about something they can change. They'll complain about their job, or they'll complain about how they hate their partner, their relationship. And then when I suggest to them like some positive advice, when I say to them, well, if you don't like your job, you know, why don't you do a training course? Why don't you look online? Why don't you start applying for other jobs? Or, you know, if you don't like your partner, leave them or get therapy. And then, you know, they often reply by going, no, can't do that. Can't get another job because that job might be worse than my current job. Better the devil you know. Can't leave my partner. What if I'm unhappy if I leave her? Can't leave my partner. You know, at that point, I just think to myself, don't fucking complain about it then. Don't fucking complain about it. If you're not going to do anything about it, it just fucking irritates me to no end. So I like Princess's outlook. You know, I like her outlook on life. You know, stop thinking about how much worse things could be. Stop thinking about that. Instead, think about how much better things could be if you make a positive change. And there you go. There's my inspirational speech for the year. Hope you enjoyed it. If you would like some more life advice, then don't hesitate. Send £5 in the mail to Mr. Inspiration at Ashford, Kent, UK, and I will send you some more brilliant life tips. That's just £5 for some great life advice. Actually, most of my followers and viewers are American, so why don't you send me some dollars instead, because the pound has gone to shit lately. Don't delay, send me money today. Anyway, my point is I agree with Princess. I would rather take her outlook on life than, you know, Mercer's outlook in which he just settles for mediocrity and, you know, doesn't want to rock the boat. Mercer also presents Max with a statement to sign which will absolve her of any guilt and, you know, basically let her go free. And the statement is utter nonsense because it says that Max is, like, depressed and having a mental episode, and, you know, it says that she doctored the recording of Sebastian. You know, it's similar to what Eugene signed when he signed a document saying that he was having a manic episode when he was looking for Stephanie, or, you know, the fake Stephanie when she disappeared. And I got a bit annoyed. I got a bit angry, you know, that Mercer would accept his sister signing this, and, you know, it would accept his sister being labelled as, like, mentally ill, and, you know, they're blaming it on his sister. And yeah, I got a bit pissed off with him, but I understand where he's coming from because he just wants her to take the pardon so she doesn't get in any trouble. And look, I think he is looking out for her, but again, like I mentioned a moment ago, he's still pissing me off. I just think to myself, grow a fucking back, man. You know, use your platform to do something good. Stop putting up with the Commonwealth's bullshit. Eugene does eventually hand himself over to the Commonwealth at the end of the episode, and I think that Eugene got some really nice character moments this week. I mean, the conversation that he had with Rosita, it felt like a final goodbye. Like, I don't think we'll see these two characters together again, which is kind of sad. Yeah, it did feel like, it reminded me of, you know, when he said goodbye to Abraham, before, when he goes, like, off in the van to try and distract the Saviors or whatever. And yeah, that was their final goodbye, and I think this might be the last time we see these two characters together. And it's also a testament to how far Eugene's come as a character that he will give himself in to the Commonwealth and he will hand himself over, because Eugene has always been labelled as a coward, and he's always been a dude who's just been about, you know, his own self-preservation. And in this episode, he is offered the chance to escape. He is offered the chance to escape with Daryl and Rosita, but he doesn't take it. You know, he's a changed man now. He's like, look, I would rather die, you know, and help Max. I will stay here. And, you know, he's not a coward anymore. And that is a credit just to how far he's come as a character over the course of the show. Prior to watching this episode, never in a million years did I think that Eugene was going to die in the final season of The Walking Dead, but I don't know now. I'm not too sure. I think that he might die come the end of the season, because it does seem that his character is heading in that direction, so we shall see, we shall see. I do think the scene he had with Daryl was perhaps the funniest moment of the entire show. Like, I burst out laughing, because in that scene, you know, Daryl is, like, trying to stop him escaping and stop him going onto the streets of the Commonwealth because he's a wanted man. And then Eugene's like, don't, you know, get out of my way, you know, and tries to put up a fight against Daryl, you know, acts like he's going to fight him. And he's rolling up his sleeves and he's, like, jumping around, and Daryl doesn't even react. The dude just doesn't even flinch. And you can see that Eugene is, like, visibly shaking when he's, you know, putting his fists up, and it was hilarious. I just thought it was brilliant. Like, it's for me one of the funniest moments in the entire show. As I mentioned earlier, Hornsby does get a visit from Pamela this episode. She visits him in his cell, and these two have, like, this weird sex thing going on. Like, she's moving his hair, stroking his face, and putting her hand in his pocket and rubbing up and down, which gets him very excited and a bit disturbing, really, a bit disgusting. But anyway, she takes like his lucky coin out of his pocket, and she says to him, well, she puts the coin in, like hides it in one of her hands, and he doesn't see, he doesn't know which one it's in, and she says, if you choose where the coin is, and choose correctly, then you live. If you don't, you die. And lucky for him, he chooses correctly and lives. I mean, it was a bit gimmicky, a bit strange, but whatever. And I'm assuming that when she spared him, or when he chose correctly and was offered the chance at being kept alive, I assumed that Lance thought she was just going to let him go and let him be released. I mean, I certainly did. I thought she was going to let him out of his cell, and these two would work together to calm down the brewing discontent at the Commonwealth. But no, instead she keeps him in his cell, and then brings over the Walker Sebastian. And Walker Sebastian is now his new cellmate. And then she also brings the dead body of, I think it's Roman, the dude who works for him, the dude who killed the ordinary people, the workers last week. And she says to him, my son's hungry, feed my son, and just walks out. And I was like, wow, fucking hell. Where did that come from? I didn't see that coming. Pamela's gone full fucking psycho, gone full the governor on this dude. And yeah, that's pretty exciting. She's gone like full villain mode now, so I'm looking forward to see what she does. But yeah, I didn't see that coming, and I don't think Hornsby did either. Moving away from the Commonwealth, we also spent some time in this episode with Elijah, Jerry, Aaron, and Lydia as they try to make their way towards Oceanside. But unfortunately, their wagon suffered damage. Their wagon breaks, and then Jerry hurts his knee, so they have to stay overnight in this building. And this part of the episode is where the Variant title comes into play. I mean, this episode is titled Variant, and this is where we see the Variant Walkers, who were introduced at the end of the second season of The World Beyond. The Variant Walkers in this episode display more intelligence than your average walker. For example, one of them grabs Lydia's staff as she tries to attack it. Then another one tries to open a door. And then I'm not sure if it's the same walker that attacks Lydia. I think it might be. The same one climbs up on a roof where Jerry and Aaron are and goes up to pick up a rock with the full intention of clubbing Jerry's skull in, which is just pretty, fucked up. And yeah, it was interesting. I liked it. I think the Variant Walkers as a concept, is an interesting concept, but I just don't think they did enough with them this week. I mean, based on the fact that this episode was called Variant, I assumed that a large group or a group of Variant Walkers would be causing the protagonist problems throughout the entire episode, but instead we get one or two Variant Walkers who the characters take care of and kill, and then it's just they just move on with their lives. It's that's it, it's done. They only appear in the last 5 minutes of the episode. Aaron kills them, and it's yep, that's it. The next day, the herd is all dead. Let's move on. It just skips over that bit, and yeah, a bit disappointing, really. I would have liked to see the characters really tested. I thought after the first Variant was killed, after Aaron killed the first one, I assumed the herd that was beneath them, would contain a couple of more, and the characters would have to put up a real fight against them. But instead, we just skip to the next day, and all the walkers are dead, and now the characters go on their merry way. Yeah, just a bit disappointing, really. I mean, it was a lot of hype for little reward, I think there were some cool parts to it. I like the fact that Aaron thought they might be Whisperers and tries to rip off the Whisperer mask, and he just ends up ripping the skin off this walker, and yeah, obviously the shock that comes from that. I like it. It's a good idea. I just think it was very kind of underutilized, and some people have been debating whether we will actually see them again in the show, because it may be that this is just they're just doing it this episode. We just see a snippet of these variants because this is something which is going to come up in the spin-offs, and we might not ever see them again on the main show, which, if that's the case, is a bit... I'm not too sure about that. I think I'm not really a fan of introducing something just to then see it pay off in another show. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just a bit unsure about this whole concept and the way it was used this episode. I mean, I like the concept, but I just think they could have done more of it. But I did like, the scenes of Jerry slashing up walkers with his sword. That looked amazing. Give me more action scenes of Jerry, please, with his sword. There was also a cute little scene where Lydia is talking to Aaron, because previously in the episode, Elijah goes in for a kiss and she kind of turns away, and she says to Aaron that, I'm really struggling to move on from Henry. And then Aaron brings up Eric, and I think that's nice. I always like it when characters mention their loved ones who die, or refer to past characters, because we don't see that often on The Walking Dead. I mean, it often feels like characters die and they're just never mentioned again. So I like these callbacks. I mean, unless you're Maggie, of course, because all she seems to do is mention Glenn constantly. But there's a lot of characters who have died, and we don't really hear about them after they go. So yeah, it's nice to see Eric get a name drop here, because it's been a long time since I think anyone mentioned his character. Anyway, the episode ends with Rosita being kidnapped by, I don't know, Pamela's goons, I guess. I don't know what's going on. I mean, the preview for the next week did show that the majority of the characters, the protagonists at the Commonwealth, are locked up. So I guess that Pamela is just like rounding everyone up for some reason. I don't really know. But anyway, that's episode 19. I enjoyed it for the most part, although the variant part was a bit of a letdown, and I thought that was going to be the best part of the episode. You know, I would have liked it if the characters really got tested a bit more by these variant walkers, because, you know, if you're going to introduce like this concept to The Walking Dead, you know, make it have an impact. Make them kill a character like the Whisperers did when they first arrived on the scene. And yeah, it's just a bit weird that, you know, we had the variants, they appeared, and now they died, and now the characters are just going to go on with their lives, and, you know, like they never even encountered them. So it didn't really have much of an impact, in my opinion. And I also felt like Aaron had a very strange bit of dialogue when he says, I've heard about these walkers who open doors and who climb fences. I've heard tales of them. Yes, it's those magic walkers I've heard about. I was like, what? When did you hear about this? I've never heard you mention this story before. Like, who told you this? Yes, remember those tales about those walkers who could pick up rocks? Like, no characters have ever spoke about this. What the fuck are you talking about, man? So that was a very, very weird bit of dialogue. But on the whole, I like this episode. I really like the stuff at the Commonwealth. I thought that was great. And yeah, the best episode so far of 11C. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Goodbye.